Singapore's last surviving traditional Teochew mansion opens its doors to the public this weekend after a 3-year planning and restoration project that is believed to have cost more than 100 million Singapore dollars. The century-old house will host guided tours, Teochew festivals and other events. Rebecca Mateo pays a visit.
This tree is actually what we call stucco work. Stucco work is actually lime plaster. So lime plaster with some sort of fiber reinforcement, which is actually hemp fiber.
This tree painting is part of the restoration of a 140-year-old mansion on Penang Road in Singapore. The roof features ceramic shards and figurines made with the Teochew inlay technique and wood carvings with motifs such as the phoenix and peonies. Some 30 experts from the Chinese city of Chaozhou worked on these crafts. A conservation specialist behind this project said they also had to import materials from China.
The thing is that we're trying to be authentic here. We're going back to the old original materials. So for example, the lime plaster were made from shell lime, which is oyster shell, burn it in a kiln, and to process it into a lime powder, which is actually, and then we slick it and prepare it for at least 3 months before we can use the lime plaster.
The mansion was built in the 1880s by prominent Chinese merchant Tan Yeok Ni and gazetted as a national monument in 1974. It is one of the last remaining of the 4 grand mansions constructed by early Teochew pioneers in Singapore. Over the years, it has served many purposes, from a family home and a refuge for orphaned girls to a traditional Chinese medicine hall. The Karim Family Foundation bought over the property in 2022 for somewhere between 85 million Singapore dollars and the asking price of 92 million Singapore dollars. Restoration work started last year. Including restoration, the project is believed to cost more than 100 million Singapore dollars.
The main part of this space is actually our office, but we also wanted to try to find a way to get more people to have an opportunity to step in to do something in this building. And that's where the banquet hall, the main hall and all that, we try to repurpose it as a way for people to use it for events in the future.
Law Minister Edwin Tong says arts philanthropy is vital and heritage shouldn't just be a static monument. It should bring people back to these spaces to connect and learn from the past.
Spaces like this house show us that history, art, community, they're not separate precepts, they're not separate concepts, but they can come closely together, intertwine, shaping a shared future where heritage is not just preserved, as I said, the monument, but a space to be engaged with and to experience.
The original owners of the mansion are also not forgotten. Guests walking through the halls will see a gallery showcasing ancestry and identity of the Tan family, put together by Mr. Tan's great-great-grandson.
A total of 76 national monuments have been gazetted in Singapore. According to the National Heritage Board, they are an integral part of Singapore's built heritage. We look at some of them. The first buildings to be gazetted were in 1973. Well, these included places of worship like the Hajjah Fatima Mosque, Sri Mariamman Temple, Tian Hock King Temple and the St Andrews Cathedral. Down the road, places like Raffles Hotel, Victoria Theatre and Concert Hall and the Padang also joined that list. The latest is former Kandang Kabau Hospital, or KKH. Gazetted buildings are protected by law against any reconstruction, demolition or alteration, unless approved by authorities. And for more on the challenges and opportunities behind restoring Singapore's national monuments, we are joined by Professor Ho Puay Peng. He's head of Department of Architecture at NUS. He's also UNESCO Chair on Architectural Heritage Conservation and Management in Asia. Professor Ho, why are national monuments, such as what we just saw, the House of Tan Yeok Ni, why are they significant in Singapore's cultural story?
Yeah, hi. They are significant because they represent the national heritage. They represent the best of our heritage and the best of achievement. It is identity marker, and the significance would relate to our history, our past, but also our future. I mean, the society cannot live without our own past coming forward, and that's through the heritage that we preserve. So the 75 heritage really represents what we have gone through as a nation, and our forefathers, both in the Chinese migrants coming down to Singapore to trade and do business, as well as the foreigners who settled here, who built churches and give us the more Western style architecture as the heritage.
Oh, in the report we just heard, is just one example. I'm sure there are many other examples of one difficulty. For example, that house, they wanted a genuine, authentic lime plaster, which required using the practices of more than 100 years ago when this house was actually built. So that's one kind of challenge. What other difficulties might there be if one wants to authentically conserve and restore monuments such as this house?
Yeah, for conserving national monuments, the highest standard of authenticity is required. And therefore, we need to go back to the same sort of materials, same sort of craftsmanship. And really, that's very, very difficult because we need to do a lot of chemical testing, a lot of analysis of the materials, and to find out the real composition. For example, the lime plaster. There are many types of lime plaster, and how lime plaster was produced in Teochew and brought over to Singapore and used in this house, as in a few really large mansions. And this is being the last one. And so I think that is the real difficulties. The other one would be craftsmanship. Therefore, we need to bring in 30 odd really craftsmen from Teochew who had the experience as well as the technique of creating architecture this way. For example, carving. The wood carving is really very, very difficult. And if you look at the Teochew wood carving, it's the best in China in terms of its intricacy, in terms of its color, in terms of its content or the subject matters. And this really shows that the house here inherits as well as brought in the best of Teochew culture that expressed here in Singapore. And therefore, the craftsmanship that is required to recreate or repair or restore some of this early artworks is really, the requirement is really high. And therefore, we need the craftsmen who have been trained and work in this area, really experienced craftsmen, to come into Singapore. We don't have that sort of craftsmen. But I think somehow we forget about the owner. It's very difficult for a private owner to put in so much effort, money, and time to restore a mansion, a heritage of this caliber to its real authenticity. And I think that is very, very important because they have to put in so much effort and so much heart pour into the project. And that, I think, would be something that we really need to look at.
So funding and expertise to properly recreate these buildings. This particular building is being repurposed. I mean, it's gallery spaces, restaurants,
yes,
event spaces as well. And in the case, several places in Singapore, I'm thinking of, for example, Chimes, because I used to go to school there. It's a very old building. It's repurposed, restaurants,
yes,
hair salons. So when you rebuild, you have to be authentic, but you have to make sure that these new old buildings are fit for modern purpose. What sort of balance do you want to strike?
Well, it is very hard to strike a very good balance. I mean, there's no right or wrong answer. In this case, I think for this particular building, it was used as a mansion, and later it was used for many other purposes. And I think to be able to bring back the mansion for living is not possible at this time. And therefore, you have to find a very compatible use for this new old building, as you put it. And I think what the owner had proposed to use it with a restaurant, with galleries and other activity centers, I think it's really perfect because you will not intrude into the authenticity of the building itself, of the spaces, but at the same time, you allow the public to come into the building to appreciate the past, the achievement of Teochew craftsmen, as well as the owners in creating this building. And so I think the appropriate use is very, very important, and that will not diminish the significance of the building itself.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us, Professor Ho Puay Peng. He's head of Department of Architecture at NUS. He's also UNESCO Chair on Architectural Heritage Conservation and Management in Asia. Thanks for joining us this evening.